Familiar with the old written law, love your friend and its unwritten companion, hate your enemy? I'm challenging that. I'm telling you to love your enemies. Let them bring out the best in you, not the worst. When someone gives you a hard time, respond with the supple moves of prayer, for then you are working out of your true selves, your God-created selves. This is what God does. He gives his best, the sun to warm and the rain to nourish to everyone, regardless, the good and the bad, the nice and the nasty. If all you do is love the lovable, do you expect a bonus? Anybody can do that. If you simply say hello to those who greet you, do you expect a medal? Any run-of-the-mill sinner does that. In a word, what I am saying is grow up. You're kingdom subjects. Now live like it. Live out of your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously toward others, the way God lives toward you. This is the Word of God for the people of God, interpreted by the brilliant Eugene Peterson in his brilliant translation, The Message. Thanks be to God. I hope you all had a good celebration of our 249th national birthday. Oh my, means we have a big one coming up next year. I don't know if that's even been on your radar. I'm not sure it's been on mine. Not sure what you all did to celebrate on Friday, but we all may need to be thinking a little bit bigger next year than just typical Friends fireworks and scantily charred meats. We stayed close to our home this year with Ryan recovering from her jaw surgery on Tuesday, but I did manage to eat an incredibly yummy peanut butter bacon burger. Have any of you had that before? Do you remember the Malibu Inn when it was called the Malibu Inn? So good. Definitely a must-try if you've never had one before. But it was an interesting celebration for me this year against the backdrop of so many quickly evolving, sticky, complicated international issues and relationships. War in Ukraine, war in Gaza, war in Iran, rising tensions with China and Russia and Canada? Who knew? And here at home with the passage of the one big, beautiful or ugly bill, depending on your perspective, still reeling from the apocalyptic destruction of the fires in our own city, in one of the bluest states of our nation, and now the death and destruction of these floods in Texas, in one of our reddest states in the nation. I don't know about you, but with all of the destruction all around us, all over the world, it was enough to get me to take a pause, to not be able to see the fireworks exploding over the Brentwood Country Club in quite the same way this year, wondering the whole time, what the heck are we doing? I was very moved and intrigued by what Rachel Held Evans said in chapter 13 of this book, Wholehearted Faith, that we are reading and preaching about this summer, especially the part where she challenges this whole concept of labeling or even perceiving anyone as our enemy, particularly where she suggested that an enemy is simply someone whose story we have not heard yet. In our deeply interconnected, globalizing and digitalizing world, it certainly is hard to escape the notion that Archbishop Desmond Tutu drove home at every opportunity, that we are all inescapably caught up in one inseparable, inextricable bundle of life. We are all literally blood brothers and sisters, tied together to one another for good or bad, better or worse, destined to rise or fall as one. Martin Luther King Jr. put it this way. He said, "We are all caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in one single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." I don't know if we have ever seen this butterfly effect more at work or clearly on display than we do right now. Some small thing happens in some remote corner of the world. A tariff is negotiated, a bomb is dropped, a glacier calves, Trump and Putin share a phone call, and suddenly our stock markets are rising or falling, the price of oil dipping and diving, B-2 bombers being deployed halfway around the globe. I honestly don't know that we have the luxury of considering anyone our enemies anymore, even those we're not quite sure if we're at war with right now or not. We need each other. If we're going to even survive, let alone thrive in this globalized, interconnected, tightly interwoven world. It may be the single greatest fallacy of our entire Enlightenment-driven Western civilization, particularly our 20th century American capitalistic society, this fascination that we have with our John Wayne-like rugged individualism, as if we were ever captains of our own destinies. Erica, our newest wonderful staff person, had us all rolling on the floor with laughter the other day at the ridiculous fallacy of anyone going anywhere by simply trying to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. How does that even work? The truth is that we're all much more like that child I often talk about, sitting on his dad's shoulders so he can see over the sea of heads at the parade. Their friend arrives, looks up and says, "My, Johnny, you look awfully tall today." And Johnny looks down with this very serious face and says, "Well, you know, this isn't all me." We all stand on the shoulders of those around us, those who've come before us, in our families, our community, our country, even our nation. It's who we are today only because of the shoulders that we have stood on. Those who have believed in us, defended us, partnered with us, encouraged us, traded with us, even challenged us. Perhaps Rachel is right that those we are tempted to consider our enemies are simply those whose stories we don't fully know yet. It's hard to hear someone's story, isn't it? To really listen and try to understand their perspective without it stretching or informing our own, without realizing that even those we completely disagree with have so much to teach us about ourselves and our world, about others. I don't know how many times I've heard it just these last few weeks, even from some of you, who have said that the person you struggle with most in your family is the one who is most like you. It's like they hold a mirror up to us. In South Africa, after Nelson Mandela's release, when it looked like the various warring factions and rival political parties were threatening to plunge the country into a giant bloodbath, African Enterprise, the reconciliation organization I've been a part of for years, launched this series of reconciliation weekends where they took the top leaders from the various parties, about 8 to 10 of them at a time, away to a private game reserve to get to know each other and to hear each other's stories. They didn't try to forge any treaties or call any truces. They just wanted to have these men live together and eat together, go out on game drives in the morning, and then spend the rest of the day hearing each other's life stories. Each leader would take about an hour to tell the others their entire life story from beginning to end. So the leader of the PAC, the Pan-African Congress, the group whose motto was "One settler, one bullet," meaning it would be a big waste of money to use anything more than just one bullet to kill each of the white people in their country. That guy sat and listened to the story of the head of the AWB, the neo-Nazi-based, openly white supremacist group. And then the leader of the AWB would sit and listen to the story of the leader of the PAC, how at 10 years old, the South African police came to his home in the township in the middle of the night, dragged his dad out of bed into his front yard, forced him to his knees, and then shot him in the back of the head in front of him, his mother, and his little sister. These leaders may not have left those weekends agreeing with each other's politics or their views, but they knew each other. They understood where each other was coming from. And they shared a new kind of bond with each other that would become priceless when the negotiations got underway to hammer out what the future of the new South Africa was going to look like. I was actually floored about 10 days ago after the NATO summit. I think wherever you stand politically, we can all agree that Donald Trump normally seems to relish in attacking and bad-mouthing NATO and its leaders. Is that right? And yet, in his press conference after the meetings, I don't know if any of you saw this, he said something along the lines of, I really got to spend a good amount of time with each of these leaders. And I came away very impressed with what good guys they all are, and just how much each one of them really loves their country. And then he said something that almost made me fall out of my chair. He said, it actually makes me feel much better, even proud that we're so involved in protecting them. What? Now, I don't know what he's going to say about them a week from now, but could there be a better illustration of what I'm trying to say? That an enemy is just someone whose story we don't know yet. He did it again, just after dropping those bunker-busting bombs on Iran. He talked about how much he loves the people of Iran, how he knows a lot of Iranians personally, how they're some of the smartest and nicest people he's ever known. I know we can relate to that, can't we? Some of our favorite congregants, deacons, preschool directors, finance directors, some of our best friends are Persian. Part of this Persian diaspora centered right here, just a few blocks away on Westwood Boulevard. The largest concentration of Persians anywhere in the entire world outside of the Middle East. So I guess what I want to ask us this morning, 2 days after our celebration of Interdependence Day, is what if real freedom isn't about independence at all, but about interdependence? What if it's the relationships that really lie at the heart of our faith? Our interconnectedness that informs the core of our creation. When Jesus was asked what the most important commandment in the scriptures was, when he was asked to boil down the very heart of our faith and the purpose of life, he said, I'll tell you what, let me give you two. The first is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. But the second is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. And when they said, okay, that's fine, but exactly who is our neighbor? Jesus told them a story about a Samaritan, Israel's most bitter enemy. Think about that for a minute. How mind-blowing is it that Jesus basically is saying that loving our enemies is as important as loving God? And what if this is not just a lesson about our foreign relations and international diplomacy, but a critical life-giving lesson for our personal lives as well. Most of my life, I've always tried to live my life as someone who has no enemies. That doesn't mean there aren't people who bug me, or people I try to steer clear of. There are people in my life who have hurt me, and I know would probably do so again if I gave them the chance. You know what they say about hurt people, hurting people? So I do think that maintaining healthy boundaries sometimes does involve keeping ourselves a certain safe distance from certain people. But calling them my enemy, that just hurts me. As Rachel says in her book, calling someone my enemy ultimately says more about me than it does about them. It gives them way too much power over me, too much space in my head, too much freedom to trample and manipulate my emotions. It takes time and energy, bandwidth, resentment, and active loathing to have an enemy. It's like an itch that we're just aching to scratch until it bleeds. A scab that we're dying to prematurely rip off no matter how deep of a scar it's going to leave. There is a certain kind of seductiveness to harboring a deep resentment toward our enemies. But let's be clear. The only one that hurts is us. Our resentments and our bitterness deforms us. It twists us into something unrecognizable by God, by others, even to ourselves. Research keeps finding that anger and resentment even has physical effects on us, causing chemical imbalances in our bodies that can lead to things like colds and arthritis and asthma and hypertension and heart disease. In fact, the psychologists tell us that the number one cause of depression is suppressed anger. So you tell me, is China our enemy? Our adversary? Our frenemy? Our competitor? Or might they just be our strategic partner? And how will our label or even our perception of that relationship affect our future and theirs and the whole world's? Are they an enemy to be vanquished or a strategic partner, better situated than any other nation on earth to help us bring lasting peace and global prosperity to the entire planet? Is Iran our enemy? Or the most critical linchpin? The one nation that if we could just figure out how to work together, how to find some kind of bridge between our competing worldviews and interests, could finally be the decisive player in bringing a real and lasting peace to the entire Middle East. And while we're at it, who in your life are you tempted to consider an enemy? Who is it hard for you to not hold a grudge against, to not nurse bitterness or resentment towards? Might it be a family member, a colleague, a friend, a former friend, even someone here at church? Might it be someone on the other side of the political aisle as you? Because the problem with having enemies, and holding on to our bitterness and unforgiveness, is it becomes like a boomerang. We might be using it to try to protect ourselves, but it always has a sinister way of circling back and deforming us, making us the victims of our own ill will. Is there a resentment or a bitterness that you need to let go of before it deforms you? Because not everything that comes naturally is good for us. Anger in the right context can serve a purpose for a given amount of time, But giving in to its intoxicating, debilitating itch not only imprisons us, it destroys us slowly from the inside out, as it systematically alienates us from everything and everyone that we hold dear. So here is my challenge for all of us this morning. Let God into your anger. Let God help you live without the perception of any enemies. Focus in on God's love for you, and you will be set free. Wallow in God's forgiveness of you, and you will find a power and a desire to forgive others, a power to let go. When we allow God to love us and forgive us, we automatically find ourselves loving those around us, even those who hurt us, even those who've let us down, even those we don't agree with, as the anger begins to lose its grip. It's pretty unbelievable, but it really does work. It's a paradox. It is a miracle. But more importantly, it is a promise. You're familiar with the old written law. Love your friend, and its unwritten companion, hate your enemy. I'm challenging that. I'm telling you to love your enemies. Let them bring out the best in you, not the worst. When someone gives you a hard time, respond with the supple moves of prayer, for then you're working out of your true selves, your God-created selves. This is what God does. He gives his best, the sun to warm and the rain to nourish to everyone, regardless, the good and the bad, the nice and the nasty. If all you do is love the lovable, do you expect a bonus? Anybody can do that. If you simply say hello to those who greet you, do you expect a medal? Any run-of-the-mill sinner does that. In a word, what I am saying is, grow up. You're kingdom subjects now. Go and live like it. Live out your God-created identity. Live generously and graciously towards others, the way God lives towards you. Happy Interdependence Day.